Hello, my name is Rupert. I am a space scientist with a first-class honours degree in physics with space science and technology from the University of Leicester in England. I'm also a spiritual advisor and alien contact specialist. I've spent my entire life investigating the paranormal and reaching out to aliens in peace. And now I have alien friends who support me and protect me and enhance me.
All right. And that's when I realized you had two beings actually behind you.
I'm seeing three, except that one is directly behind you. They're calling themselves the Guardians.
Your contingent, I call them.
Contingent.
Yeah, there's a group.
The first thing I saw was a very protective being that was over Rupert's head.
And you did have one behind you?
I definitely saw beings around you that really appreciate what you're doing.
Your beings that were with you there were very tall, long hands, long arms.
They were very big. They were very tall. They were very still.
Very, very, very tall, kind of grayish.
Had a very large head. He was very silver gray, had very big eyes, and what I felt was ultimate protection, and almost a caring for Rupert. It was overwhelming. It was a very strong force, like a force field.
Palladian, Arcturian, and I don't know what the third one is.
But you're not limited to them. That's who were with you in that space right there. But you have a vastness of beings working with you.
It's kind of like swaths of light all around, and some of them were like over you, like it was almost like a hug.
And the one was doing this. I seen the fingers, and they were moving the fingers, and it was on your right side here of your head, and like at the low part.
And it looked like they were doing this. There was, like, I saw a hand across your forehead like this. And it was just, as soon as I saw that, your aura just, like I said, went from here to here.
It would move. And I kept feeling they're working on you.
Yeah, there was nothing, and to the point where I felt like if somebody had stepped up or done something malicious to you, they were there to protect you. That being was overlooking you, not the event, but you.
And they're there every time I see you, Rupert. Every time. And I want to be a part of that.
Over the course of my life, I've hosted thousands of online and in-person events relating to aliens, UFOs, meditation, spiritual healing, astral projection, remote viewing, manifestation, enlightenment, wisdom, and ascension. I understand who aliens are and why they're here. And I understand the three main messages that they've been giving to us for decades. This is the first video in a course that I've created called the Cosmic Wisdom Course. The course is designed to help people to become enlightened, wise, and ascended enough that they can establish meaningful relationships with our alien friends. Working through this course exposes people to all of the knowledge, understanding, experiences, and skills required to assist our species' introduction into the surrounding interstellar and interdimensional communities, and to save humanity from a number of rapidly approaching crises. This video, Talking to Aliens, is a comprehensive introduction to the subject of alien contact, or communicating with aliens. So today, I am going to talk about alien contact. I'm going to talk today about a lot of the resources that you can use to initiate contact with aliens, to talk to aliens, to learn about aliens. I'm also going to talk to you today about how you can advance your own spiritual journeys. How, if you're not already, how you can become enlightened or more enlightened, how you can become ascended or more ascended. By the end of this session, I think you're going to have a pretty clear idea for how to go about communicating with these beings. Right now, what I want to talk about is a little bit about this group, because the character of the group and the way it's set up matters to these beings. It's what we're doing and how we're doing it that is causing them to pay attention to us, and pay attention to us in a big way, as you'll find out when I talk about some of the specific beings that are in contact with us. This is a very morality-focused group. We have a very carefully worked out moral vision. The moral vision that everything we do is based upon is universal peace, universal love, and universal happiness. We encourage in our groups, among our members, kindness, respectfulness, consideration, tolerance, a total absence of negative discrimination, and a total absence of aggression. So I'm going to ask everybody, please, to, in all of your posts, your comments, and your interactions with us in our group, please try to show all of those positive characteristics in all of those situations. If you ever see anybody in any of our groups acting disrespectfully or unkindly to you or to anybody else, please do report them, and we will remove them from the group. We do this so that you can exist and learn and ascend in a healthy and safe environment. Now, because of my stance on removing dark people from my groups, I get attacked a lot by people whom I've had to remove. And their attacks on me can be extraordinarily vicious to the point of illegality. I'm sure I could sue some of these people if I wanted to. But if you see any of that stuff going on, just understand where that's coming from. Our vision of universal peace, universal love, universal happiness, that essentially outlines why and how we're trying to connect with aliens. We are doing this, we're talking to them, we're communicating with them because we are trying to work towards universal peace, love, and happiness. We are not doing this in order to get alien technology. If you're trying to make friends with somebody because they have something that you want, that doesn't come across very well to those people or those beings. So that's not why we're doing this. And I will talk more about that whole alien tech thing in other sessions, because it's important to understand why we should not be asking them for alien tech. That's a long conversation in itself. We are not reaching out to them for the purposes of asking them to save us. They are not going to save us from ourselves, from our own actions. For example, from our own causing of climate change, from our own violence. However, if we are able to show them that we are doing this for the right reasons, that we're behaving in a way that is non-destructive, that our lifestyles are being lived in a way that is promoting universal peace, love, and happiness, then a consequence of that is that we do form relationships with them, and then maybe they will save us. But that's not the purpose of talking to them. When we go to them, it's simply to ask them for friendship and knowledge. Our vision includes peace, love, and happiness to all beings. That includes aliens. It also includes humans. And the more active people are in our groups, the more that they will really start to feel how special our community is, because they really start to feel that happiness that we give to each other. This is one of the most active alien contact groups in the world. I would not be surprised if it's the most active. We put on so many events. We put on 5 or 6 events a week Now, last year I was actually moving house, so my tour schedule got disrupted a little bit. But in 2022, this group hosted over 200 online events. I personally hosted about 50 in-person alien contact events in 25 US states and 2 countries. We are bringing people together to experience this both online and in person. We've had a lot of very significant events, and I'm going to tell you about some of the events we've put on and some of the things that have happened at these events. And I'm doing this because this will show you the kind of experiences that you can have with these different beings. I've hosted alien contact events in Roswell. We went out into the Roswell desert and we were seeing some amazing, amazing things in the sky. But the most amazing thing was after the event, everybody else left, and I was camping there in the middle of the New Mexico desert. And in the night, I was visited. I had on the ground, in person, beings walk up to me and make their presence felt to me while I was asleep in my tent. I told them to go away because I was sleeping. I don't like people waking me up when I'm sleeping. They have to be respectful of my sleep needs. But that is the kind of thing that can happen if you want. We hosted events in the San Luis Valley, places like Zapata Falls, where there is supposedly a portal there, but we were definitely connecting with beings there. There are ant-like beings that live in Mount Blanca and in all of that chain of mountains there. We were connecting with them. We went to the UFO watchtower that is there, and we were astrally projecting to them from that distance also. We were seeing some remarkable beings. We have built up a relationship with the tall white beings that live in the desert outside of Las Vegas. If you haven't seen the documentary Walking with Tall Whites, I recommend that you go and do that. That's not my documentary, but it outlines a relationship that the US Air Force has with beings, non-human beings that live out there in the desert. And we discovered through people in our own groups who used to live on those bases as children that what they're saying is true. I have friends, I have talked to people and I've interviewed people who, when they were children, they lived on the bases and they played in their backyards when they were children on those bases with children who were not entirely human. We went out there and we've been doing alien contact events out there, and we've had their craft appear in the sky for us on 2 or 3 different occasions. And we received an invitation from them to go out further into the desert to get to know them better. And so what we did in 2022 is we drove out for 3 or 4 hours into the middle of that desert, and we went close to the military area, but we're not doing anything illegal. We stayed on public property. We went out there to the area where these beings live, and we communicated with them. They spoke to us, we saw them, we talked to them, and I videoed some of their vessels zooming around. And one of my friends who lives in Vegas kept coming to my meetings, gave him I would say, a new purpose in life. And he went out week after week after week to the same place where I have hosted contact events there. And last year, he contacted me and was all excited because he had been out there in the desert. He came home. He reached out, looked up into the sky again, and they started to appear in the sky. Lights that were sort of dancing with each other, flying around.
I was here thanking them. I was just trying to send my thoughts out, thanking them. And that's when I decided to meditate a little in my head. That is when lights started appearing right here in this part of the sky. Talking about little lights that would pop out, shine, play with each other.
After a couple of minutes, he turned to go into his house so he could go and get his mother. And above the house was a large mothership.
Here, it appeared over the house, and it was right here, right in this position. From like far over here, straight right there. at an angle like that and just went there.
He called his mother to come out, and she rushed out and she saw it flying away into the distance. That sort of thing is a result of what we're doing. We have hosted events in Aurora, Texas, where in 1897, basically this spacecraft came in, crashed into Judge Proctor's wind turbine, and then crashed and exploded. And they found the body, they found the pilot, and they said this was a pilot from another world. And they buried that being in their cemetery. They gave the being a proper funeral. And you can go to that cemetery and you can see the gravesite. The being was dug up. As soon as MUFON took an interest in it, it disappeared. And even the stone that was on top disappeared. So it's been covered up, but you can go there. And we went there and we connected with that being, because you can astrally project and spiritually connect back through time. And we did. And we saw the crash and we communicated with the beings. I'm going to tell you one more experience we've had. Mount Adams. I don't know if any of you have heard of Mount Adams, but that's a very active area in terms of aliens. We've been there. While I was there with a friend, we were meditating, and we both saw psychically a flying saucer inside the mountain there. And that was cool. And we invited them to come to our campsite later if they wanted to. And we were seeing things in the sky before we went to bed, and very cool. We were getting 3 flashes, which is what the Arcturians often do to let us know who they are. But then during the night, we were woken up to footsteps, and simultaneously our walkie-talkies lost battery power and started beeping with the lost battery power beeping sound. And initially we were worried, concerned that there were people walking around our campsite, but there were no people there. We were in the middle of nowhere. There were no cars there. And we immediately got out of our tent and we realized that we had connected with these beings, and we heard them walking around not far from us, but they didn't come any closer because they were then concerned that we were concerned. But those are just a few examples of fun experiences that we've had. We, in our events, have gone way beyond just going outside and having lights appear in the sky. We now actually know a lot of these beings, and we know a lot of them by name. We know the Arcturians, we know Sashki, Rimitoid, Helmiad. We know Sashki, the Arcturian Sashki, so well, and she likes what we're doing so much that she actually sends people to us from around the world. I sometimes get people contacting me from places like Australia, contacting me saying, hey, Rupert, this might sound a bit weird, but this tall blue being that is calling herself Sashki said that I should contact you.
And in came this Arcturian, and she said her name was Sashki. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, with this bright star on her head, with sort of a headband coming off it. And I just accepted that that was an Arcturian. And she started giving me downloads and initiations and codes, and more than my brain could understand what was going on. I just knew that that was what was happening. But since then, Sasky said, tell Rupert. Because I was like, well, what do I do with this information? I don't know what to do with tell Rupert. It was very clear.
The reason for this is because these beings can see that what we're doing is right, is constructive. And if you're talking about universal peace, universal love, and universal happiness, you can't really be going wrong, as long as you are living your life according to those philosophies. We know a being called Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuk is this amazing extraterrestrial being, but we connected with her probably about 4 years ago now. And she is just a very benevolent, loving being. And she likes to help people. She likes to heal people. So we reach out to her now. We know her. We're friends with her. We've got a relationship, an established relationship with her, whereby we meet up with her once a week and she heals people.
When we had the healing with Tuk Tuk the other week, that was totally amazing. And it always takes me a fair while to come down after your meditations. I have had a huge ganglion on my wrist and it was gone. But that really blew me away because it was a really difficult ganglion that had veins and wrapped around it, an important vein or artery, and so couldn't be anything surgically be done with it. And through the meditation, it seems to have healed it, and it's pretty much gone. So yes, it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. And even since then, I still get the feeling that she's around.
And we've had a lot of people who have experienced significant healing from our connections with her. This is something that you can have if you want.
I got the sense of three beings that were standing beside each other. And so when you said in moving us through that, if you would like to, you can invite them to stay, be there longer, or come back. I felt really comfortable doing that.
And then you went to your intuitive masseuse.
Mm-hmm. And so she put her hands on me and she immediately let out a kind of exhale. And I was like, ooh, that's different. And she said, somebody's here. And she said, I don't know who it is, but they're telling me how to massage you. And then she let out a couple of more really big, like, and she said, I just have to do what they're telling me to do. And at one point in the session, she literally did stop and just stood there and said, I've never done a massage like this before. I have never had this experience before. I don't know who they are. The way that I am massaging you, I'm not doing it. I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm fine with it. I'm not afraid of it. There's nothing about them that scares me, but literally it is like they're doing this massage, not me. I felt like this deep resonance had just gone all the way through me. It was really healing. I felt like it was a complete transformation from where I was before, completely rejuvenated and more so. And I felt amazing. It felt like everything got an upgrade or something.
Actually, Sashki sometimes heals us also. Sashki and the Arcturians have a very different style of healing, but you can get healing from these beings too. There's another being that we've received healing from. Reptilians look intensely scary. It's like coming face to face with a human with a head that looks like the head of a velociraptor. They don't look very friendly. And because of that, people have labeled them as evil. They've assumed over the years that these reptilians are bad. That is mostly stemming from lookism. Lookism is a word that means judging people based on their appearance. I know many people that have had positive relationships with reptilians. We reach out to all beings in peace. That's what universal means. We're not going to be discriminatory. We're not going to say we're going to love everybody apart from those people over there. We give our friendship and our love to anybody that wants it. And we reached out to the reptilians that are in Las Vegas. We didn't see them at that event when we reached out to them in Las Vegas, but the next event they showed up. They showed up and we said, oh, hello, we reached out to you in peace, in friendship, like a couple of weeks ago. And they said, yeah, we know. That's why we're here. We like what you're doing and we're here to protect you. And that's what they do now. They come to our meetings and they protect us. One of the reptilians called Icod, one of them came to one of our meetings and healed an energy healer, a human who is an energy healer. That's her job. That's her profession. She's psychic and she heals people of negative energies.
I saw something that came to my sight, and I noticed the eyes and the scales, and I'm thinking, this is like a lizard. I don't know what this is. But then its eyes did the flicker, the lizard eye thing, and then I'm like, this is like a lizard person type of thing, and it had its nose right up against me, and it was smelling me, and it was looking at me, and I said, I'm Julie. Can you tell me your name? And he said, Ecod. And then she felt the whole thing.
Yes, but before we even came to this event, she had been working doing readings all day. And she was drained.
I was completely
and she didn't feel all that well.
Yeah, and I had worked with a real messy cleansing.
Yes.
And had taken on something that I should not have taken on, but the person was miserable, so I took it on because that's what I do. And then I figure out how to get rid of it later, so that person would have been removed from that. And something got me, and I take on in the center of my back.
Yeah.
And people had worked all day to try to get me clean, and I really felt miserable when we came out to the thing.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, something's got me in my back, oh my God, it hurt so bad. And she said, they're cleaning you, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and by the time we got back to the hotel,
it was gone.
It was
completely.
And you feel that it was this Eckhard?
I do think it was him. I do think it was him.
That's wonderful.
Whatever it was removed, whatever was on me.
Yes.
I truly believe that. As hard as that seems like for me to believe, and I can rationalize it, but there's no other, this is the field I work in. There's no other way to believe. It was gone after it was there, and it hurt like hell, and then it was gone. And so I have no other explanation.
We are connecting with beings who are coming to us from the future. If you've ever tried astral projection or remote viewing, you know that you can go backwards or forwards in time and see things with the same level of clarity as if you're astrally projecting in the here and now. E equals mc squared. If you have mass, you get too much energy when you accelerate, and you can't go faster than the speed of light. But spirits don't have mass. That limitation of the speed of light is not a limitation of massless beings. And so astrally, spiritually, we and they can travel through time. And we are in contact with beings from the future who, again, like what we're doing and are supporting us. And they have knowledge of what's going to happen. And so they're guiding us to make the future better, to make our futures better. Time is not meaningless. Time is not a thing. Some people will say time isn't real. Yes, it is real. It's just two-dimensional and therefore more complicated than most people realize. We can see the future in front of us, and at the moment it's not very good for humanity, but we're working to change that, and we're working with beings who are working to change that. Recently, my activities have got noticed, and the activities of our group have got noticed by, we're calling them at the moment, the Galactic Council. They started reaching out to members of my group, telling them that I have a seat on the council. And I started to get people coming to me from all over the place saying, Rupert, the Galactic Council says you have a seat on their council and that you need to go to them and meet with them. And so what we did is, we have in my Patreon group, every Tuesday evening, we have a alien contact session where our members astrally project to different beings and get to know them, establish friendships with them, set up meetings with them. And we astrally projected recently 2 or 3 times to the Galactic Council. So we actually went there just a few days ago. We had 10 people in this particular Zoom meeting. 5 of them all saw one of the beings looking the same. They saw, among the group, they saw an ant-like being. That is extremely high-level evidence. I've received enough evidence to know that it is proved that this council is there, and it's proved that we have a connection with them. They do like what we're doing. We remote view to places like Skinwalker Ranch. We've had some amazing experiences there. We've connected with the beings above Skinwalker Ranch twice in a significant way. We figured out what's going on there. It's complicated, but we figured it out, and it makes complete sense. And they've told us, basically. At the end of this month, I am hosting an event at Stonehenge, England. There's going to be an event in Wales. This isn't at a UFO site, but if you've seen the opening scene in American Werewolf in London, that's where we're going to host a alien contact event. We don't expect to connect with werewolves, but it's a beautiful place, and maybe we'll connect with something interesting there. We're also going to host an event in Calais, France, at the end of this month. Next month, in this location, I've been guided to a house on a mountain in California, surrounded by nature. This is where we're going to have, we already have significant contact here, but we're going to have even more significant contact. We're going to have craft on the ground and things. People have seen that with their remote viewing activities. And next month, there's going to be a retreat here with a full weekend of ascension activities and informational sessions. We're going to do healing sessions. We're going to do remote viewing exercises, and we're going to try and connect with these beings. Do you feel that it's safe to say that the presence of other entities were felt during this retreat?
Oh, I would guarantee that.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And last night, when Jordan and I felt like we walked into a space of extraordinary warmth on a cold night, I felt like there was a definite presence.
It was like a wall of warmth.
It was
just a complete barrier between the cold and the hot. Yeah. And we did see the orbs came around a few times in the daytime, and that was awesome. And then I think feeling the presence of this location, and then being able to ground into the ground here, and to me it was just a magnificent experience of being able to connect with like-minded people, and at a beautiful location, no less.
And excellent food and beautiful meditations.
In this location, I host contact and ascension retreats about 3 times every year. And every single time we have significant contact and ascension experiences.
It was mind-blowing, everything that I experienced. About myself, I felt through the meditations just connected, and I'm working on my spirituality. I work on meditation, so the meditations that you did blew my mind, and the energy that I felt after and throughout the day last night, and then coming back, and it just clicked again.
I had a great time. I learned a lot about myself, actually. There's more things that I can and should and will start to do now, and it's been really eye-opening in that way. You know, there are things that I didn't think that I could really do, coming before. I was nervous, and I found out that I can do these things.
It is so beautiful out here. I miss the stars. I'm used to living out where there's not light population in Texas, so LA is really hard for me. So coming out here and seeing the stars, and with the meteor shower, we saw a lot of flashes. We saw meteors shooting stars. Couldn't ask for anything better.
So you'd recommend it to people who are considering?
Absolutely, and I will return as many times as you allow me to.
The property is beautiful. I mean, just camping here was awesome. Waking up and all the wildlife, and then hearing about the elk down the street. I mean, you can't beat it. This is awesome.
Fabulous. So would you recommend this to other people?
100%, yes. I am constantly recommending this to people, but yes, I would.
So if I did another one, you think you might return?
Oh, I'll be here for sure.
Why don't we as a species have an open, active relationship with these aliens? It's not because we don't believe in them. A lot of people will say, well, when everybody believes in them, then we can have a relationship with them. There are tens of thousands, at least, of alien craft all around our solar system. They could quite easily land all around the planet and show everybody, hey guys, we're real. And then humanity could see them. We wouldn't need to believe in them at all. We would know that they're real. They could do that, but they don't. And they don't because us believing in them isn't going to change their reason for not wanting us to be part of their communities right now. This whole thing is not about belief. Some people think that when everybody meditates enough, then they're all going to land and come in. And it's like, no. I mean, meditation is good for spiritual reasons. It helps, but you can meditate and still be a bad person. You can meditate and still be unkind to others. It's not about meditation. The reason why we don't have an open, constructive relationship with aliens is because we, as a species, don't come across to them as being wise enough. If humans were to enter into the extraterrestrial community right now, we would bring with us selfishness, unkindness, inconsideration, disrespectfulness, intolerance, aggression, hatred, exploitation, conflict, pain, suffering, and a compulsion to convert the other members of the alien community to our belief systems. That's what people are. That's what people do. Not everybody, but we as a species, that's how we are. And our alien friends don't like the idea of that happening. They don't want us to come into their communities and bring all of those negative characteristics with us. There are over 20 wars going on around the planet right now. If you look at a map of where all of the armed conflicts are in the world, it's like at least half of the world. That's what humanity is presently. And if you look back through time, through our history, we have always warred. Humanity as a whole is not good enough, and we're failing. We've got over 13,000 nuclear weapons ready to go right now. And the people in control of nuclear weaponry and the people we're electing to be in control are not the most stable and nice and mature people on the planet. We have a problem. And when we look into the future, people do see missiles flying. They do see nuclear bombs going off. This is not good. Now, it's easy for many of us to say, well, my country is not at war. My country is peaceful and moral and ready for contact. But how true is that really? When you look at all of the everyday negative behavior of so many people in our societies. Do you ever see in the behavior of regular people in your everyday lives selfishness, unkindness, inconsideration, disrespectfulness, intolerance, aggression, hatred, exploitation, conflict, vengefulness, and a compulsion to push belief systems on others? There isn't a country on this planet in which all of these negative characteristics aren't flourishing. While it may be true to say that approximately half of the world is not at war, it certainly isn't true to say that half of the world is at peace. And on top of all of that, humanity is causing catastrophic damage to our environment and climate. Humanity as a whole is failing. So we as a species are not ready. But here's the thing. As individuals, we can ascend high enough. We can make ourselves the kind of beings as individuals that these aliens, whatever we call them, want to be friends with and want to support. They know that the people that they support now are going to be the people who have the earth in the future, and we are going to be working with them in the future, and we are going to be evolving into the next step of humanity. A lot of people in this group who come to my events have individual relationships and friendships with these beings because they're evolving, they're ascending, they're moving in the right direction, they're good people. You can have that if you want. You can have alien friends around you, supporting you, guiding you, and protecting you. If you're willing to go through the process of being better than just a human being. People are not going to have that if they just keep doing what they're doing. We can't expect something that special and that different to happen unless we start doing something special and different. The process involves elevating ourselves in our wisdom, our peacefulness, our morality, our love. If aliens are up here on pretty much every level, technological, spiritual, in terms of knowledge, understanding, wisdom, morality, humans are down here. This group is consciously trying to elevate all of us, but particularly our members, up closer to their level, bridging the gap between us so that these relationships can happen more naturally and more meaningfully. And when you do that, you're going to have experiences that are far more than just seeing lights in the sky. You were tuning into my guided meditation. You were sitting out there on your front porch, working through the meditation, and tell us what happened.
The ship landed in my front yard. It was circular. It's maybe like, I'm guessing maybe 30 feet across. There was a dome on top, and it had some kind of little landing legs, I think. And some sort of door opened, and about 20 of these beings came out. And one of them met my eyes. So I stayed connected to his eyes the whole time. There was that connection. And your next question was, why are they here? What is their message? And the little guy said, we feel your pain. We are here to help you. And I noticed that he was crying. And then I noticed that I was crying. I had tears running down my cheeks, and I had to blow my nose a couple of times. And at that point, he started walking toward me. And I was on the porch, so I was low, and he was maybe 4 feet tall. So we were sort of head to head. And he wrapped his little skinny arms around me, and I wrapped my arms around his. And we just held each other. We were so close that I felt his heartbeat. I felt his heart beating into my heart. And then he pulled away, and I did namaste, and he did namaste back to me. And then he started walking back to the ship, and I just called out. It just came out of me. I just called out, "I love you," and then they took off.
Our Cosmic Wisdom course. This is a route to ascension. This is a route to connecting with these beings. Our Cosmic Wisdom course has 4 pillars that you can work through, 4 pillars of wisdom. The knowledge pillar, in order to be wise, you have to know stuff. And you can work through these knowledge activities here and check them off as you work through them and gain more knowledge. In this experience pillar, I host a range of experiential events where I teach people meditation, remote viewing, astral projection, manifestation, and healing. There's a thinking pillar in here that you can work through. There are people on the planet who accept things as being true that are clearly not true. Why? Well, we need to think about what are the thinking processes that are involved in determining what is true and what is real. There are correct answers to the questions that we have about the universe. How do we determine what is right and what is wrong? That's part of this process. And aliens care about that, because if we go into our communications with them with lots of beliefs that are incorrect, that clouds our ability to have meaningful, deep relationships with them. So thinking is important, and also morality. Now, we don't dictate any moral codes upon anybody. We don't dictate any moral principles upon anybody. But what we do is we ask questions, carefully thought out questions that help people to evaluate whether they wish to make any changes in their life in order to advance their own states of morality. None of this course requires anybody to accept anything within it as being true or right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, their own beliefs. All I'm doing is presenting people with knowledge. You can get up to like level 6 in this chart without agreeing with anything I say. But if you do let yourself work through it, you will be exposed to knowledge, experience, thinking, and moral issues that most people like that they've been exposed to, because there is this process of becoming more than being just humans. And we need to go through these moments of, oh, these light bulb moments of, now I get it. Now I get it. And now I see the truth about how to ascend. That's what this system gives to us. So if any of you like the idea of working through that, you can do, but you can come to my sessions without working through that course. It's entirely optional. Now let's get into a little bit more serious stuff. We're talking about communicating with aliens, talking to aliens. What are they saying to us? What are the messages they're giving to us? And you can go and look at the history of contact, and you will see that there are 3 messages that come up consistently and have come up consistently for decades. The first message is about nuclear weapons. The second message is environmental. The third message is about how we treat each other. The first message is nuclear weapons are bad. We know nuclear weapons are bad. We shouldn't need to be told. We know they're bad. The environment is the other message. People are shown images of the future by these beings. It's common for people to be shown images of the future by these beings where there is big environmental devastation, where forests are burned down, where areas that were inhabited by plant life are now turning into desert. They're being shown images of cities that are destroyed. And I'm a scientist, as I've said before, and the science is very clear on this subject and has been very clear on this subject for about 60 years. Climate change is a big, big problem. And I host entire sessions on this subject where we look at what reality is. And reality is our greenhouse gas emissions, I'll do it this way around, have been accelerating and accelerating and accelerating and continue to accelerate. We've put back into the atmosphere all of the carbon dioxide that it took photosynthetic organisms about 15 million years so far to take out of the atmosphere and replace with oxygen. We've already caused that damage. We've changed our atmosphere already to a point that is millions of years before humans even existed, and we're accelerating. The temperature, the corresponding temperature, has been accelerating, getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And I'm not going to go through all of the science of this now, but we are rapidly pushing this planet towards uninhabitability for humans and many other species. And that's not good. That's not good for humanity. It's not good for us. And if you're not already feeling the impact of that, you are going to in the next few years. And if you don't have a plan for dealing with these big issues that I'm talking about, we can help you with that if you like. The third message that these beings are giving to us is simply be nice to each other. Love each other. Okay. I want to talk about words. Words are important. If we're talking to anybody, words are important. Should we use the words alien or extraterrestrial? Should we use the words UFO or UAP? Should we talk about alien contact or CE5 or conscious cosmic contact? Which words should we use? Unfortunately, a lot of people fail straight away because they get into conflict with people about the words that are being used. We shouldn't be letting ourselves get into conflict over anything so little. So it's my assertion, it's my advice that we must not let ourselves get into conflict over our use of words. So if you don't like me using the word alien or UFO or whatever I use, try to just take a deep breath and be okay with whatever words I use, and I will do the same with you. The truth is, aliens don't care which words we use. Aliens are telepathic. They're empathic. They don't communicate verbally. They don't know or learn all of our languages. They really don't care what words we use. What they care about is the consciously projected meaning behind what we're saying. And if when we're using words, we don't have any negativity or racism or anything within our minds, then that's good enough for them. I'm going to give you an example of how they communicate. A few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was leading an online event where we were astrally projecting around the universe to try and connect with different alien beings. And during that session, we did connect with different alien beings. And one lady reported after the astral projection that she was taken by a being astrally to the being's home planet. And she was shown a city. And this woman had within her, she was having a hard life. She had within her a lot of sadness and upset and tensions and stress. And the being turned to her and said one word, release. And somehow it was a healing message at the same time, like she was receiving healing. And she released all of those tensions, all of those upsets, all of those sadnesses. And she felt completely different when she came out of that session. And she was crying about it. It was such an emotional thing for her. She was English. What's interesting is that somebody else was in the same meeting who was Japanese. And she was also she's a very psychic person. I know this person well. And she heard the word release also clearly. She felt it, she heard it, but she didn't hear it in English. She heard it in Japanese. What is happening is our brains, when we communicate, convert backwards and forwards between intended meaning and words and intended meaning. But the way that our brains process that is to put a word up there. And that's why people heard the word release and heard it in two different languages. But really, they were only sensing one message, and the message was coming through in meaning. And it was the brains, the human brains, that interpreted it into that word. So when we use the word, for example, alien, if you don't have anything negative associated with that word, if you're just using it to mean a being that is out there that is different from us, then they won't interpret you as having any negative intention. Aliens don't care about the words we use. They care about the meaning of the words. So it doesn't matter whether we use the word alien or extraterrestrial, UFO, UAP, alien contact, CE5, cosmic contact. None of these words really matter to those beings. What matters is the emotion and the intention. It is true, however, to say that when we communicate with each other, having accurate use of words can be helpful. So I encourage people to think about words and to think about their meaning and to use words accurately, just not to let it cause conflict. So I'm going to talk about some of these words and why I use some of these words and maybe how we can communicate with each other more effectively. UFO or UAP? Well, it doesn't really matter. U means unidentified. If we're talking about, oh, there's something unidentified in the sky, personally, I don't find that very helpful at all, because it could be anything. Oh, there's something unidentified. If we saw an alien craft in the sky and we called it unidentified, maybe that's not quite accurate enough. I use the term PAP, or the initialism PAP, probable alien phenomena. I also use the term UFO to mean there is something I don't know what it is because I've not identified it yet. Unidentified flying object. That's fine. Object or phenomenon, UAP, doesn't really matter if it's an object or a phenomenon. It's just details. Is it flying? Is it aerial? Well, if it's in space, it's definitely not aerial. The initialism UAP was changed from unidentified aerial phenomenon to unidentified anomalous phenomenon. That's more accurate, but it's so vague. Oh, look, there's an unidentified anomalous phenomenon. It doesn't tell us anything at all. So, you know, we can use these, but I like using the term PAP when something is probably an alien phenomena, or DAP when something is definitely an alien phenomenon, like it's landed and aliens get out. Let's talk about alien versus extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means outside of the Earth. That's scientifically what extraterrestrial means. Extra means outside of something. That's what the prefix means, not the single word, but the prefix means outside of. So if I say extragalactic, that means outside of our galaxy. If I say extra dimensional, outside of our 3 dimensions of space. If I say extraordinary, I mean outside of what is ordinary. If we're talking about extraterrestrial beings, we're being specific. We're being specific about where they're from or where they live outside of the Earth. That's very specific. And it might not be true for all of these beings. Many of the beings that we're interested in that are out there are truly extraterrestrial. Most of the beings in the universe are extraterrestrial, but a lot of these beings that we see, these biological humanoid entities that are interacting with humans on this planet, there's a lot of evidence to support the idea that they're not extraterrestrial at all. Many of these alien species have lived here on this planet for as long as humans have. They've lived on this planet for longer than Americans have lived on the American continent, but we're still calling them extraterrestrial. And when their bodies have been tested, because there are alien bodies that we have, that humans have recovered, when we test their DNA, we find is terrestrial DNA. That is something that has been proved. These alien bodies that are recovered are made out of terrestrial DNA. There are many examples of that from different sources. What's interesting is, though, is terrestrial DNA, but the DNA does not fit in our evolved tree of life, in our evolutionary tree of life. It is made out of DNA that's cobbled from different bits, different places, bit of human, bit of reptile, throw them together, see what you get. Bit of insect, bit of human, throw those together. You get mantis beings and ant-like beings and insectoids. You even get bits of feline DNA mixed in with human DNA. What is happening is these beings are engineering biological bodies from terrestrial DNA. This is beyond the tree of life on this planet. If you imagine the universe and every planet with life on it, you will have a different evolutionary tree of life on each of these planets or other bodies around the universe. And that's how life starts, and that's how life evolves. But then you get to the point where you can engineer things. And then you start to have these threads joining between branches. That's what we're seeing on our planet. And while many of these genetically engineered species that live on, in, and around the planet Earth clearly have interplanetary and interdimensional technologies, they all seem to be biologically completely terrestrial. So if they've lived for hundreds of thousands of years on, in, and around the planet Earth, and they're made of terrestrial DNA, then categorizing them as extraterrestrial is either completely wrong or at least not very accurate. Now, we are in contact with alien entities who are most definitely extraterrestrial. Tuk Tuk, for example, lives on a far-off ocean world. We've also connected with some of the oldest beings in the universe, whose consciousnesses reside in almost godlike states in extraterrestrial nebulae. So extraterrestrial aliens definitely do exist, but so too do terrestrial aliens. What does the word alien mean? Simply means differing in nature. They are different. It can mean beings from a different place. And that could mean the forest over there instead of the desert over here. You know, it could mean under the ground, it could mean extra dimensional space, or it could mean elsewhere in the universe. When I came to the US from England, I was classed as an alien. I kind of liked it. We shouldn't worry about using the word alien. It's something we can use for all of those beings and know that we're using the word accurately. That's why I use that word. Some people in the alien contact community have started weaponizing the word alien, attacking people who use it as being racist. That kind of behavior is the opposite of what aliens want. It divides people, it creates disharmony. So aliens are not offended by the word alien. I use it because it's accurate, but whatever words we're using, whatever words you use, I'm not going to get angry with you. I'm not going to kick you out of the group for whatever words you're using, call them star people, cosmic family. I don't mind. And I just encourage all of us to ascend to the level where we don't need to attack each other over our use of words. The last thing that I'd like to explain in this video is exactly how to go about talking to aliens. First, you meditate, then you astrally project to whichever beings you'd like to connect with, and then you remotely communicate telepathically with them. If you don't know how to meditate or astrally project or remotely communicate, then I recommend that you join my Patreon group, and I will guide you in live, online, alien contact sessions. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've watched it all of the way through, then you've now completed level 1 in the knowledge pillar of the Cosmic Wisdom course, and you now have a Cosmic Wisdom of 1000. If you like, you can download the Cosmic Wisdom chart, print it out, and put a tick or a check mark in the level 1 knowledge box. If you'd like to continue working through this course, then please watch the next video in this series entitled Meditation. If you've enjoyed watching this video, then please like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like what I'm doing and you'd like to get more involved, then please join my Patreon group. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye for now.